walks around without being shady. Who knows her values, who's gone through trials. Her smiles are captured from mouth to mouth. It's not the size of her thighs she worries about, but the pride she thrives to keep that drive. That cinnamon twist. That cinnamon twist. That cinnamon twist. Ladies, can you feel me? That cinnamon twist. That cinnamon twist. That cinnamon twist.
Hello, 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 hello. This is your girl Tasha, known to the world as the Tasha Carpenter. But everybody calls me your girl Tasha because when you hang with me, it's like you are hanging with your girl. And today, guys, in the studio, I have hang with me. We're going back to Charles County. We have the candidate for Commissioner President in Charles County, Mr. Chris Dudley. And I am going to allow Chris to open up. And I just want you to tell our viewers something about you as a person.
All right. Well, sure. I've lived in Charles County for a while now. It's about 15 years, and raised 2 children here, mostly on my own. And well, we're not in Charles County now, but and I've been involved with the schools. I was the president of the Performing Arts Boosters at Lackey High School. I tutor 3 days a week at the library at Potomac Branch Library, and I'm a songwriter. So for the last 4 years, I've been working to get to sort of a commercial level of songwriting, and it's beginning to get there. Planning on sending in a demo before too long, and let's see. Long before that. I moved to Charles County for the child care when my kids were infants and toddler, and I was working as an astrophysicist at the Naval Research Laboratory at that time. After that, I worked in solar, but unfortunately the recession basically killed the company I was working for, and so songwriting is sort of a third venture in that list.
Are you any good at songwriting?
I'm getting there.
Oh, okay.
It takes quite a lot, but I was told back when I was in high school that I could make a living at it. So I thought, well, I'll give that a try.
All right. Well, that's interesting. Now, Chris, I got a question for you because, you know, people who come on my show or who pay attention to my show is because I'm just a regular person. I hold no cut cards or anything, and I just let you know stuff. So there's a lot of people that have limited knowledge when it comes to your political affiliation being the Green Party. Most of us know about Democrats. We know about Republicans. Some might know about independents. But when it comes to Libertarians and Green Party, we have no clue. So what type of values is it that's supposed to be thought about when a person thinks about the Green Party? And let me ask you something. Okay, one more thing before I go there. So I noticed your shirt.
Yes.
And is the turtle the symbol for the Green Party by any chance?
No, the turtle. I got this shirt sort of to honor the Rotarians. They have their meeting on Wednesdays. Okay. Early in the morning at the Green Turtle in La Plata, and I was invited to come and join their breakfast, and I thought, well, this shirt would be perfect, so I bought it.
Okay, the Green Turtle
shirt. But it is a green shirt.
Awesome. So back to the values that people should think of when they hear the Green Party affiliation. What are they?
Well, actually, the Green Party is the party of values. Some parties try to use that word, but we stick to 10. If you're a Green Party candidate, all 10 of these 10 key values are you have to adhere to these. So the first one is grassroots democracy. Mm-hmm. Social justice is next. Mm-hmm. Ecological wisdom. We're very well known for being worried about the environment. Nonviolence. Decentralization, community-based economics, feminism and gender equity. I'm the only NARAL-endorsed candidate running for commissioner at all in Charles County.
Oh, wow, okay.
Respect for diversity, personal and global responsibility, and number 10 is future focus and sustainability.
Okay, so we have Michelle Bowman. Yes, said please explain about the Green Party because she doesn't know anything about it. So when it comes to these 10 values, I know that with any political party, there's certain things that are supposed to be core values, and sometimes candidates agree with some things, and sometimes they don't. So when it comes to you, which values do you hold most important or closest to your platform in the campaign that you're running, and why?
It's taken me a while to understand the Green Party, and actually all of the values interweave with each other. Some years ago, I wrote an essay on that that's probably lost in the Ethernet. But for the campaign, the two values which are most important are the personal and global responsibility, or actually it's basically just responsibility, and future focus. So those are the last two. And the responsibility part, I'm in this race because Peter Murphy lost his primary. Peter Murphy is the current president, commissioner president in Charles County, and he and Amanda Stewart and Ken Robinson have worked very, very hard. In fact, there's big news today. Charles County, for the third time, has now got a AAA bond rating with all of the rating agencies, including Moody's. So these bond ratings just show that good governance has been starting to happen in Charles County. We haven't had this before. We haven't been a good partner necessarily for other counties around us or for the state. We haven't necessarily been a good partner for the state. But working on responsibility and good governance has moved things forward. But Peter Murphy lost his primary, and a former commissioner wants to be the commissioner president. But for him, he has been very irresponsible fiscally in the county. He's been involved with a huge $6 million hole in the budget, which he didn't really have a choice about whether or not the county would pay $6 million, but it could have been done with a bond, and then the teachers could have gotten the raises that were promised to them. The sheriff's deputies could have gotten the raises that were promised to them, and the students wouldn't have lost the activity buses. You know what the activity buses are?
I do know what activity buses are, so that kids can participate in sports and things after school programs.
That's right. So right now, only students who can get a ride can participate in the after-school programs. Before, anybody could participate. Now, these are publicly funded activities: the sports, the theater, the band, all the chorus practices, the clubs. It's all taxpayer funded. It's public school, but some kids can't participate. That's not right. And when Reuben Collins, who's my Democratic opponent, when he was in, he was feuding with the superintendent and just decided to, instead of, when you buy property, you take out a mortgage. He wasn't willing to do that. And all of it got taken out of teacher salaries, kids' activities, and police salaries. And that's just not right. And when a rating agency looks at that kind of behavior, they're going to say, that's not a trustable county. They don't keep their promises. So we need to avoid that kind of behavior in the government in Charles County.
Okay, so we have Kathy Jo Redman, who I know is a Charles County resident, asking, who are you?
I've seen her on writing into your show before.
Okay, so she was asking, who are you, because she came on a little bit late. So what we have here is Mr. Chris Dudley. He's running for commissioner president out in Charles County with you, Kathy. And as usual, guys, if anyone has any questions or you want to say something besides putting it in the comments, you can dial in on 301-429-9247. And we do ask you to share and invite too. Okay, all right. So that's pretty interesting there. About the whole situation with this after school programs. Now tell me, because a lot of people still, to get a little bit more education in about the Green Party, do Green candidates take contributions from political action committees or corporations or anything like that?
Green Party candidates have pretty empty pockets, and part of the reason is we will not take money from political action committees, corporations or unions. We only take individual contributions.
And what's the thought process? Welcome, Mr. Collins. Thank you for joining the show. Mr. Collins just
Mr.
logged
Collins?
on.
Oh, very
Yes,
good.
he has
That'll
logged
be
on
great.
too.
I have a lot of questions. So we won't take money except from individuals. And what the Green Party would really like to do is reform campaign finance so that it's all publicly funded, and it's just voters and candidates and not corporations involved in politics. Because when you owe something for your election to a corporation, they're going to come around. They will. Now, they may say they're just choosing the person that they tend to agree with, but they're going to come around.
Okay, so we got questions coming into the chat. I got questions about why you don't want to do unions because I'm a union girl, but that's okay. We have Derek Terry saying the activity budget was $2,000 and there was $6 million or so given by the commissioners for public safety. So why not allocate $200,000 for the activity buses is his question. And then Kathy Joe is asking whether or not you are a write-in candidate or an actual candidate on the ballot. So I'll let you answer that question.
So the ballot question first?
Either one that you want to answer.
Okay. Sure. So I hope everybody got one of these in the mail. You're all registered to vote, right? If you're not, you can register the same day with the early voting. Okay, so everybody got one of these in the mail. Unfortunately, these will not be marked, as this one is highlighting all of the green candidates that you can vote for this time. There's a governor candidate, Ian. There's
a green
Mr.
governor
Elder.
Candidate.
Yes, please vote for Ian. We need at least 1% of the vote. Okay, and then Pat Elder is running for Congress with Steny Hoyer in that race. I think Steny Hoyer is still running for Congress. And there's me, Chris Dudley, running for Commissioner President. And also Stanley Hayes is running in District 2. Mr. Collins, now, I understand in the paper that he now lives in District 2. I wonder why he didn't get into that race.
Oh, well, if Mr. Collins would like to call in, he's more than welcome to dial in on 301-429-9247 to answer your questions, or if you have questions with him. Again, the number is 301-429-9247. Now, in reference to Derek Terry and talking about the budget, the $200,000 for the activity bus, what comment or response do you have about that? I didn't think that was something you could answer because you weren't there to allocate it, but what's your opinion on it?
Well, in some ways, the activity bus issue is up to the Board of Education. But I think, when the commissioners hear about the school budget, they do ask a lot of questions. And pushing hard for the activity buses is something that I will do during the budget allocation process. We lost them, and it's not fair, especially in Charles County, where traffic is such a problem for so many parents. They are getting home after the activities end, and the students can't just sit there and wait for a ride. Now, there is some self-organization. I've been a member of athletic boosters as well as performing arts boosters. There's some coordination trying to get everybody a ride, but it doesn't work for everybody, and some people are shy, but they would still benefit, especially if they're shy, from getting up on stage. Have you been on stage before?
Absolutely.
Yeah. You like performance?
Absolutely.
I'm getting to like it too.
I'm not shy about it at all.
Yeah. I'm getting to like it
I
too.
play the piano.
So all of that is very good for our blossoming high school students to be able to be in those activities, and we're not giving them a fair shake at it. Not everybody has access.
Okay, now we have another comment coming saying that you mentioned the AAA bond, and this is Derek Terry again. He said you mentioned the AAA bond, and I agree. It is a great first step. However, the three commissioners you promote have failed to deliver a plan on how the property taxes at the highest in the state without raising the rate. Wait a minute, I missed something. Hold on, let me do this again. Checking my eyes. You mentioned the AAA bond, and I agree is a great first step. However, the three commissioners you promote have failed to deliver a plan on how the county will generate revenue outside of the property taxes. They have kept the property taxes at the highest in the state without raising the rate. Then why not lower the rate and give the taxpayer homeowners back some money? Quick answer is the three commissioners have shut down businesses, and we now have an American Express black card that's paid for by my property taxes.
I don't speak for the current commissioners because I'm not a commissioner yet.
But you promoted but you did promote them and said that
Well,
they were doing a good job. So you have a Charles County resident who's saying otherwise.
I said indeed we're moving towards good governance.
Okay.
This is a question about tax rates.
And that's part of governance.
So I think I heard in the question that tax rates did not go up, and that's correct. They held the line on tax rates, and didn't increase taxes. Prior commissioners have, and that's how we got to the highest tax rate in the state for counties, although Baltimore has a higher tax rate still.
Okay, so
but we do have the highest tax rate of all the counties, and that is a problem. However, how did we get there? Basically, sprawl development brings in $1 of tax revenue, and it costs $1.25.
What is sprawl development?
Sprawl development is the kind of development that we've been having in Charles County that people, especially Commissioner Collins, promote, which is house, 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 and then you have to build new schools, right? You have to pay more police, and you haven't increased the amount of revenue from taxes from businesses, and so you don't bring up the you don't level things out.
Okay.
And so our tax rates are high because of all the housing development that has been going on in Charles County, because we have obligations to meet. Thornton says that you must educate your students at a minimum level, and we're at the minimum level and a little higher. We do better than the minimum requirement, but we've got to meet those costs. We're required to as a county, right? And you can't.
So
have police.
Did you just switch to you saying with the education? You were talking about with the school system too.
Yeah, the county has costs that must be paid. They're not optional.
Okay.
And so we have put ourselves in a position with the sprawl development where those costs keep on mounting, and so because the costs must be paid, the tax rate has increased.
Okay, so you're saying that's
solution?
the reason why the tax rate has stayed high, because Derek said why not lower the tax rate and give some money back to the residents of Charles County. So is this to say for those who have concern about this that you see the reason why it's there? So if you got into the position, there probably wouldn't be any change when it comes to the taxes. Is that a safe assumption?
Well, the solution to this problem is to bring business into the county. And it's not true that the last 4 years has not seen some business growth. We've got more ecotourism going on, and that's very good. The tourism office has been pretty active, bringing in. We get a lot of bicycle riders down in Indian Head, and they all stop and buy something for dinner afterwards, and that helps with both counterflow traffic because they're coming in and not snarling up traffic. They're coming the other way from the traffic, and also it gets restaurants patronage and that sort of thing. And we also have the watershed conservation district, which is now going to be sort of a magnet for affluence, I think.
Okay,
because
so hold on, Chris.
it's got a low density limit.
Let me stop you before you go to something else, because I still don't think that I got the answer to the question with regards to the taxes. I understand that you think that bringing in more business is going to help that.
Right.
So, if you feel that bringing in more business is a solution to lowering the taxes and giving some more back to the residents, what is actually your plan to get more businesses to come into the county? Because I pointed out the same thing.
Well, I think I have the most ambitious plan of any of the candidates, any of the commissioner candidates, certainly in the race. We know what the future of Maryland is going to be for energy. We know we're going to 100% clean, renewable energy. And we also know that involves 80,000 jobs. 80,000 jobs that last 40 years. Now, that's not this one job lasts 40 years, but as they come and go, there's 40 years of 80,000 jobs to build the energy system that we need. Okay, that's all in all of Maryland. However, Charles County is very well placed to get into that business, and I think we can get 10,000 jobs in clean energy in Charles County. And there are a couple of reasons I think that. In Indian Head, we have a big bite in the river. And one of the things that's needed for wind energy are very long monopiles that can be floated out, but they need to be able to make that turn and get out through the bay into the ocean. Another spot is down at Morgantown, and University of Delaware has figured out a way to build build wind turbines on the land, all fully constructed and tall, and then float them out. Okay, well, that's very good for Morgantown because there are no bridges in the Chesapeake Bay beyond the Nice Bridge, and so off we go to the races. So we have two very good and interesting sites for doing this kind of industry. This industry will be 60% of the energy we estimate for Maryland, so it's a big part of the new renewable energy.
How do you get the buy-in of the other commissioners?
And we have students who are studying
that too?
Studying welding at North Point. There's a big program at North Point in welding. In Hughesville, there's a follow-up program for further training. And there's energy services training at Hughesville. So we have a bunch of workers who are just prepared to do this kind of work. And it's very high-paying work.
And how do you get...
it may very well be union. I don't dislike unions. I just won't take the money.
Okay. All right now, because we ain't even going to get... I'm going to leave that thing alone because that's dear to my heart. Unions are good things.
Yes, they
are.
But
how do you get the other commissioners to buy into this plan to use renewable energy? And how long is it going to take for that to present some relief in the county? I would think that it's going to take a while to get that to happen. So what the residents are looking for right now is they're looking for immediate relief with things because kind of like what I talked about when I was with one of the school board people, it's not that the current candidates don't know what the problems are. These problems were there when they came in, and often people get in the office and say, oh, well, I know this is the problem, this is the problem, this is the problem, and I'm going to do X, Y, Z to make it disappear. And then 3 years later, 4 years later, 2 years later, 4 years later, you still have the same old, same old. So your renewable energy, it's going to take a while to push that out.
Have you looked around at the buildings with all the solar on now?
Yeah, my house has one, and I hate it.
Yeah. Do you like it or you don't like
I
it?
don't like it.
You don't like it?
It was the worst thing that I did to deal with Solar City, but that's okay. But go ahead.
But well, okay. So that's fine. But people got jobs, and actually there's more jobs in Maryland in renewable energy now than in fossil fuels. So the gas companies are not employing as many people as solar. Wind energy is just about to pop. That's why University of Delaware is trying to develop these new ways of doing things. Mm-hmm. That's why New Jersey is beginning to put it out there. Mm-hmm. Massachusetts, all down the Atlantic, offshore wind is just about to pop, and our Senator Mac Middleton has been working on making sure that it happens in Maryland. He's been very helpful on this topic for a number of years. And so we are sort of prepared. We're ready to go. Okay. And so you can talk about other industries, but this is the one that's ready.
The line is busy. It shouldn't be busy. The phone number is 301-429-9247. No lines are showing lit up here. 301-429-9247. Okay.
So on my website, electchrisdudley.us, you can learn quite a bit more about this topic.
Okay, and it's showing on the screen, guys, too. It's right on the screen. electchrisdudley.us and his phone number as well, 240-300-6449 for his campaign. That is not the number to the studio if you want to dial in.
And the phone is muted right now too.
That's right. So you can't call in. Now, you talked about the renewable energy and how that's going to offset Mr. Terry's question with regards to taxes and stuff potentially. That could be an answer to that.
Well,
and
let's just talk about why that works. When you get more business relative to housing, businesses don't require the level of services because they don't have students. They don't have as much requirements for police protection. You still have to send a patrol by, but it's not. They're not going to be involved in domestic disputes at the business. So those services are not costing the county so much for a business, but the tax rate still brings in revenue, and that's how you balance it. You have more business compared to housing.
Okay, so there's a lot of concerns that come with the county residents that I know because I've had several different candidates over the show during the primary and coming up into the general election and things like that too. Their concerns include, you talked about taxes. That wasn't one that I remember too many people talking about, although Mr. Terry brought it up. But the residents in Charles County seem to have concerns about transportation, homelessness, reading proficiency levels for the high school graduates, overcrowding of the public schools, increased levels of crime in Charles County, and the devaluing of their residential properties. Right. So, within your platform, what other things do you have, or what are your opinions about how we can eliminate or reduce those concerns for the residents of Charles County?
Can we take the last one first?
Sure, residential property values.
Okay, so when I'm talking with voters, many people are saying we're just building too many houses in Charles County, and how can I sell my house for what it's worth if they're selling 20 of them and can't sell them just down the road, 20 new ones. And that's right. Our property values are depressed by too much development too fast. But there's a bigger concern. If you go into our, on the Charles County government site and look at our comprehensive plan, there are some terrible ideas in there about how we're going to get water for all the houses we want to build. One of them is desalinating Potomac River water. Well, I'm a Green Party candidate, and so I actually know that water is going to get saltier because I know the sea is going to rise. I'm also an astrophysicist. I know that this is just the way it is, and that water is going to get saltier and saltier, and it's going to get more and more expensive. So it's a ridiculous idea to desalinate water. Yet those are the kinds of things that are put into the comprehensive plan to justify future growth estimates. So if we rationalize what we're saying about what we have available for resources, particularly potable water, we will have to reduce our growth projections. And if we reduce our growth projections, we won't be building as many houses. And if we aren't building as many houses, our property values will stabilize and probably increase somewhat. So that's what it's supply and demand. It's usual economics. But that if we're realistic about what we have in the ground for water, for pumping in our wells. We have a
call that comes in, and when we have our calls, we let them pick up real quick. It's Hanging with Your Girl Tasha. Who's calling, and where are you calling from?
This is Miss Kathy Redmond calling from Waldorf, Maryland.
Hello, Kathy. What question does you have for Mr. Dudley?
Congratulations to Mr. Dudley on jumping into this race. I kind of wanted to hear him talk about the race. This is special, the kind of stuff we have going on in the county. I was hearing a lot of talk about schools and taxes, though, Latasha. Don't have a child in school. I do try to keep up, especially statewide conversations with the governor's race, and they talk about the schools and the money. But one thing I do have a little bit of experience on, and I tell you, I sold houses for 10 years, and a lot of Prince George's people who moved to the county, it was with my help. And one of the reasons that came about, and this is what I don't and then I would say, you know what, Saturday is coming. Can I be the real estate agent? Because what I knew the case to be back when I was selling, 2006 through maybe 8 or 10, Latasha, I could get people more property with maybe a couple $100, principal, interest, tax, and insurance. I could get them cheaper insurance, better insurance through Jane Staples State Farm if they would use her. But also, I work closely with the title company, and that's how you have your contracts closed on time. You keep up with what's going on with your contracts. So I knew everything that was going on, and I also knew how much the taxes were on these properties, and I also knew that the taxes in Charles County were so much lower on these properties where they would actually get more land. I would take them, they would be looking at townhouses.
Kathy, I need you to ask Mr. Dudley a question.
You need me to ask him a question?
Uh-huh.
Okay, what happened with the taxes? What happened that I went from being able to get people a reduction in their mortgage insurance up until I know maybe 2010, and what happened with the taxes? Did the taxes on property go up so high that it now does not behoove a person looking in Prince George's County? Does it no longer behoove that person who's looking for a property of $300,000? Would they not be able to get a lower mortgage rate simply from moving further south? The property taxes are now higher than...
I don't know the answer to that. I'm not a realtor or a banker, so I really don't know.
I'm talking about the taxes, though. I thought I heard you mention taxes.
Our property tax rate is the highest among all the counties in Maryland.
Well, that's not necessarily wrong, because do you know that at any given time, when you look up what people are making across the, I think, 33,000 counties in the United States, do you know that Charles County has been as high as the 7th highest paid employees in the United States? So when you make more money, all these federal...
I've seen that, and also I've seen...
That's why they pay more taxes.
I've seen Waldorf being a recommended place to live.
Another comment coming in, so I'm going to let him respond, but come back to the stream in order to hear his response, okay? Thank you for calling in.
I thought he knew about the taxes. That's why I asked. You have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Waldorf has been recommended as a place to live in, I think it was USA Today, but it may have been another magazine. And we're doing a lot of good things in Charles County in terms of trying to preserve green space. The Watershed Conservation District is something like that. And C.T. Wilson at the forum at the JC said something really, really true. Your property value depends on how good the school next to you is, whether you have students in there or not. And we've tried to have pretty good schools in Charles County. That's one reason people want to move to Charles County.
Okay,
but the tax rate is high.
So we've talked about taxes a lot, and you talked about the residential property values. But going back to the schools, I don't want to insult, but I had a fact that was shared with me when I sat in for Dialta Sweat on the Sweat Factor when Board of Education candidates Robert Pitts and Tasha Labata Lockhart came on. And it kind of took me aback because they were telling me that Charles County, unfortunately, even though they're proud, Robert has been a teacher there almost 40 years. Mm-hmm. He's proud of it. But the average graduate is graduating with a 6th or 7th grade reading proficiency level.
Not my kids.
Not your kids.
Not a lot of their friends, but there could be something to that.
And the viewers were speaking to that. So, I mean, when we talk about Charles County having the best schools and stuff, and I know you have the proposal to bring the electric buses into the schools.
Right. Electric buses help in two ways. They should start to save money right away, partly because there's a lot of money out there to buy them right now, partly because Charles County keeps its buses 15 years, and it takes 14 years for an electric bus to equal cost of ownership for a diesel bus.
Right.
So you save a little bit right there. But it's
part of your
very
platform,
important to understand.
Let me ask you a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Part of your platform with the electric buses, you said that was going to help with getting the kids to school readiness. And that
Very
was
much
something
so.
that I didn't understand how the two correlate together.
So we've come to understand recently that particulate pollution, particularly diesel pollution, causes students to be less ready to learn than if they're not exposed to it. There are some other things going on with particulate pollution as well that we can get into, but for our students, when they get off those buses, they're exposed to that kind of pollution, and that's going to make them less ready to learn when they get into school. If you have a clean bus, or if you ride to school with your parents in a gasoline car, or you walk to school, you're going to have less problem. But with an electric bus, there won't be pollution. It just doesn't have any emissions. And so our students will be more prepared to learn, less distracted, and it will be easier for them.
Okay, and you proposed, I think when I read it, you were saying that it would be the same type of cost, because when I think about it, that we're saying that we don't get enough money to do activity buses for the kids after school. Some people think, well, where do you get the money to put into the budget to do electric buses for the whole county?
Right. Well, Charles County is in a good position, at least I think we are. The draft document for how monies from the Volkswagen settlement, the emissions cheating settlement, will be distributed in Maryland. There's $75 million there. About 38% will go to companies, about 15% to governments. So governments that own their buses are not going to have as much money available as Charles County, which doesn't own its buses. The contractors own it. And so we're also going to have to work with SMECO to do this, and work with the contractors to make sure we can phase it in properly. Some contractors won't immediately have availability of enough electricity to charge the buses, but some will, and we can get going and take advantage of the 75 million if we jump right on it. Maybe get 10 or 20 electric buses to start, and then once our drivers and our contractors are comfortable with it, our contractors, I imagine, are going to want to switch over as well.
Okay, now I want to
Because
give you an
cheaper.
opportunity to respond to a comment that you meant that may or may not have been taken incorrectly. The candidate, one of the candidates, Tasha Battle Lockhart, who is running for the Board of Education, said, unfortunately, that's the challenge. People are only focused on their kids, and I think this is in response to when I stated that the reading proficiency levels are at the 6th and 7th grade level for people graduating at the 12th grade level. Matter of fact, Tajla has said that people walk out the door and they think that they got value of a 12th grade education and a diploma, and they don't have that value. So she's saying that basically she feels sorry that somebody would respond that not my kids or nor their friend kids, and that's an acceptable response when you're going to be running for a position where you're supposed to be looking at the community. It's beyond your kids. So you want to respond to that?
I am proud of my children. My son is in his 4th year at University of Maryland, and he's a smart kid. He won in geography and math counts, and it's academic. He participated in that, and was kind of a standout in school. Okay, so he may have done well wherever he was. My daughter is also, she's at CSM for her 1st year, although she took her senior year in high school also at CSM. And she's very driven and doing a lot of good things. So I think you can get a good education in Charles County, and that's one of the reasons people want to move here. But I also tutor 3 days a week for a heart and soul ministry at the Potomac Branch Library. And what we're doing there is we're trying to erase the achievement gap, mostly. We take any student who wants to come, but many of our students are students who have been struggling maybe in their family situation or that kind of thing, and then we just lift them up up to their grade level, up a little higher.
So that right there is
So
outside of
that's a volunteer program.
and it's outside of
It's
public
outside.
schools.
It's outside of the schools. But
So let me
you know,
say
when your
let me
parents
say
are
what
not
a
getting home
concern
until,
is.
let me just say, if your parents aren't getting home from work until 6 or 7, it's hard to keep up on the homework, and that can be a problem too.
Okay, let me say what a concern is with that. If as a candidate, because I allowed you to redirect to her question in case she might have understood you. But from my position, if as a candidate who's supposed to be representing the community, that you do not see that there's any problem in the school system, the public school system, because your children were able to excel in it. My child too. She out at Oklahoma Christian University in the honors program,
Congratulations.
doing very good.
Very good.
But if that's your mindset, that you think that Charles County is providing a great education, does that allow you to see where, when it comes to the commissioners, my understanding, part of the responsibility is that you set budgets and things for the taxes, for the school system, for them to use, and the unions and the school board decides how the teachers get paid. Are you going to feel that there's no need to put any more money into it when they say that maybe they want to use more technology in the school system? You know, we don't want to use we want to use whiteboards. We want to be able to have computers and stuff. If you don't think
There are whiteboards.
Okay, so if you don't,
But I see what you're asking.
And overcrowding and all that stuff. If you think that they got a good education, because overcrowding in classrooms can cause a child not to learn too.
Yes, that's true.
So how do you see it? And will I trust you? Can I trust you with allocating money towards that if you don't see it as a concern because your children were able to excel?
Okay. So, yeah, the county commissioners provide the budget, but they do ask a lot of questions when they're providing the budget.
Okay.
But the school board makes the decisions about how it's allocated once it's provided. But county commissioners can ask questions, they can ask leading questions, and show that where their priorities are at when talking about the budget with the school board and the administration of the schools. There are problems in the schools. There's an achievement gap in Charles County, not as bad as in some places, but it's there. And some of that is because people are commuting for such a long time that they can't help their kids with their homework. So traffic is coming into that. There have been problems with bullying. There have been teachers who have sexually assaulted students. All of these are problems in the public schools, but they also occur in private schools too. So we need to be getting this right more often. But I can say that Charles County is a place that people come to have good schools.
Okay.
There are problems, but we do attract people to Charles County for that reason.
Okay, so that's fair. Time is running so quick. I want to make sure that I get some of the questions that you definitely wanted to come on to. So we've talked about the electronic buses. If it's a real quick answer, I do want to know. I know that you do have fundraising campaigns, and you said that your pockets are empty. The Green candidates' pockets are empty.
Typically for Green Party, yes.
Okay, but you have a fundraising campaign, and it appears that it circles around the number 35.
350.
Okay, because I mean, you got the increments are $3.50, $35, or $350. So I was like, what's up with these 35? So what's the reason behind the increments that you take for donations for your campaign?
Okay, so in the atmosphere of the Earth, there are over 400 parts per million of carbon dioxide. And we actually know that the safe level for a safe climate is 350 parts per million. And so that's where that number, the 350, comes from. And there's 350.org out there advocating for this. But I just wanted to raise consciousness a little bit. If you go to my website and you go to the donate button, those will be your choices. But you can put in another amount. I encourage you as an individual.
He wants more than $3.50.
No, $3.50 is good. As as an individual, not a corporation, not a political action committee, and not a union, I encourage you as an individual to donate if you like what I'm saying here. Thank you.
$3.50 is why your pockets are empty. But anyway, listen. Okay, so even on here, a lot of people are asking in the chat, "Who are you? Who are you? Who are you?" It seems like people don't know who Chris Dudley is.
I have an artist who drew this picture of me to make me look likable, and she did a great job.
Okay, and we got another call coming in.
That's me, Chris Dudley.
Hold on a moment. We got another one. Hanging with your girl Tasha. Who's calling and where are you calling from?
Me with one quick question, Todd. It's Kathy.
Lord have mercy.
Jayla Battle Lockhart answered me in comment when I asked a question. Now, he had my attention. I was going to look him up, maybe help him out. But no, did he say that his kids did all right? So if he said that, my question is, what does that mean? The other kids must be blank. What does that mean? He really needs to fix that if that's not what he meant. Thank you.
Thank you. You want to respond?
Well, I think that, personally, I'm working on the problems in a volunteer capacity by trying to make sure that students in Bryan's Road have the ability to get their homework done even if their parents aren't home yet. We also have a student from CSM who's learning mathematics, and I help out with that because, astrophysicist here, I know all the calculus, all of that stuff, so I help out with that kind of stuff too. And the high school students, that's largely my role is the math. Sometimes students don't do well, and there isn't a very good reason for it. But family support makes a lot of difference. And that's one thing that in Charles County we're not always getting on the regular basis that you want. If you don't get home from work until 6:30 or 7, you can make dinner, but you're not going to be there when your child is ready to do homework and is not too tired and hasn't been playing on the computer all afternoon, which they generally try to do even at the library, where we're supervising.
Okay.
So we need one thing that will help with schooling in Charles County is fixing the traffic.
Okay. And you fixed... See, I'm trying to go... We're running out of time. I can't even do the commercial right now.
Have we got an hour?
We're going to 10 minutes. That's why I'm kind of like trying to... oh, Lord, another call. Calls come first here. I'm going to get these two questions out. Hanging with your girl Tasha. Who's calling and where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Derek Tarek Waldorf.
Hi, Derek. You have a question for Mr. Dudley?
Yeah, I'll be quick. And how you doing there, Mr. Dudley?
Hi, hello.
All right, what I want to first say is I commend anybody who's running for office, regardless of what the party affiliation is.
Yeah, so do I.
My quick question pretty much deals with the budget, the possible budget deficit. And the reason I say that is because I've been trying to get a plan from the three commissioners that you support, quote unquote, on paper for years. What is the economic plan as far as bringing in additional revenue? They've, for the most part, already spent maybe about $27 million. I think $7 million if it was approved. I can't remember offhand on animal shelter.
Well, right.
$4 million.
Let me stop you for a minute. Are you aware that there's a surplus now?
Well,
the next commissioners are going to be seeing a surplus, not a deficit.
What I mean is for going into next year, because if we have surplus, then the sheriff's department should have received their fair share of their money based on our population, which they have not received, as well as the correctional officers. That I know for a fact.
Right. I think the raises were about 2% this last year. Is that correct?
I'm not talking about the raises. I'm talking about the additional staffing. I'm saying
more staffing.
The three commissioners' argument would be, yes, we gave them 25 officers. No, they didn't. You lost about 21 due to retention, retirement. You gave them 4, so then they're thinking, oh, we gave you 25. No, all you did was just basically recycle money. So they're recycling money and using that as a brownie point, and in the meantime, also gave themselves raises.
Okay, you understand about this, so let me ask you, the forensics lab, did that have an impact on hiring?
Excuse me?
Did the new forensics lab have an impact on hiring? Do you work in the sheriff's department?
Did you hear that? He said, did the new forensics lab have an impact on hiring? And do you work in that department?
Not based on the population, no. And that was more of a political thing. They used their own money. All they did was recycle money. That wasn't any new money. That was money. The sheriff's department and correction officers, they have to give their money back at the end of the year, where the school system gets to keep theirs, sort of like a bank. So my thing is, why would you have to give money back if it's almost like you cannot use that money? They have to go through the county just to use something that they already need.
I think Sheriff Barry sets his own budget, but I have spoken with him some years ago now, saying that he feels that the number of officers per population isn't up to standard. I think that has risen, but I'm not sure. You may know better than me.
It hasn't risen to the point to where it should. And
it hasn't got to that level yet. Okay.
It just hasn't. And, they're claiming the same that it has, but we know it hasn't. So, if you have an increase in population, it's going to demand an increase in our law enforcement. And
Derek, I'm gonna have to cut you short, sweetheart, because my time is running out, and I have a couple of questions I really need to get on the books. But I thank you for calling in.
Yeah, that was helpful.
Right,
thank you.
Bye-bye. Okay, so because so many people don't, everybody who's probably seeing, there's a lot of comments coming on. I can't read these comments because we're running out of time here. But everybody is saying, who is this? Who is this? So because it appears that people don't know who you are, what background do you have that makes you ready to take on this position so that people can know, because they don't know who you are for whatever reason?
Sure. Okay, so I've never been in a partisan election before. I was elected treasurer where I went to graduate school in Hawaii for the graduate student organization. That was, I don't know, 5,000 people voting. So it wasn't a big election, but I did win it twice, so that's good. You could say I was elected to the president of the Performing Arts Boosters at Lackey High School, but I was kind of recruited too. But I was president there, so that's a little bit of experience in elected office. I've done fairly high level government work in terms of being a red team member for NASA and running sometimes as the second chair committees on making decisions about grants and that sort of thing. So I'm used to working in government. I think that I'm in this race to try to save the county because Peter Murphy lost his primary, and I know the guy that I'm running against will not be good for the county. So you could choose him, but I'm pretty sure we'll lose our good bond rating. I'm pretty sure we'll face situations where unelected, appointed volunteers can borrow money without any kind of control and put the county on the hook for it. That's a very bad idea. So I just, what it was like when the kids lost the activity buses, when the teachers didn't get their raises. I don't want to let that happen. That's why I'm in the race.
Okay, so other than, because I'm sure some people are like, doing something in Hawaii or doing something during school is not really comparable to elected official when you're going to be dealing with budgets and dealing with money, all this stuff. So has there been any other...
I was a treasurer, so that does deal with money.
Okay, but it's a little bit of a higher level, though. You're the treasurer for the booster club?
It's different. but astrophysicists here, we know how to use scientific notation, and if you change the number of zeros, we can still do the math.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Okay, I'm not going to touch on that thing. So,
Usually it comes down to addition and subtraction.
have you done, besides the tutoring and stuff, has there been any other community involvement where people may have related and saw you involved in the community besides now that you feel that that I got to jump into this race? What else have you been doing in the community too? They would like to know that.
Oh boy, I want to quote Field of Dreams on that one.
Uh-oh.
No, well, yeah. So I'm on the board of the Mattawoman Watershed Society.
Okay, and share about that real quick before, because I know that's dear to you. There's a lot of controversy about that. So what's the whole thing about the watershed?
So the Mattawoman Watershed Society is a volunteer organization that basically tries to look after the health of the Mattawoman Creek. And if you don't know about the Mattawoman Creek, you should, because it's what the bay eats for dinner, basically. All of the Chesapeake Bay downstream, those tiny little fish that run in the spring, the herring, we get the perch coming up, all of that gets eaten down in the bay, so basically we feed the bay in Charles County. And it's one of the few remaining fairly pristine places for fish to spawn. So it's very important, not just for Charles County and its economy, because a lot of people come to see it. It's also important for Maryland and for Virginia. So if you like crabs, right? If you like to go out fishing for the stripers, all of that Chesapeake Bay activity is supported by these creeks, which spawn the fish that the bigger fish eat.
I confused it. It's not Mattawoman, but the Watershed Conservation District. That is the controversial thing. So that's what I meant to ask you the question about. I'm sorry.
Sure. The Watershed Conservation District was passed as a new zoning ordinance in Charles County. It was based on a scientific study by the Department of Natural Resources and Maryland Department of Energy, which said that if you keep on increasing impervious surface, do you know what that is?
No, share with us.
Roofs and roads. If you keep on increasing impervious surface in the Mattawoman watershed, the creek will die. And the reason for that is the stormwater runs off the roof, off the roads quickly, and it runs right into the creek, and it tears up the bottom. And that kills the benthic organisms. Those are the little dragonflies that haven't come out of the water yet and that sort of thing.
Okay.
And that's what the fish eat. So if you kill the benthic organisms, you kill the fish. Okay. And then the fish don't run, and then the whole bay doesn't eat.
Okay.
So you degrade the quality of all of Maryland if you don't take good care of this. And that's why the Department of Natural Resources, the Maryland Department of the Environment, were concerned and kept on hounding the county to do something about this situation. Mm-hmm. Well, finally, we got some commissioners in who were willing to stand up and do that, and it had to be done. Now, you could argue about whether 1 in 20 is enough, or maybe 1 in 10 would have done it. Some people say that. I don't think with 1 in 10 you could have the sort of legacy program where people don't understand that if you own property that's less than 20 acres, you can still build 2 more houses if you've owned it more than 10 years.
Okay,
right?
so
It's not going to perk better than that anyway, right? So you're basically getting everything you used to have, except your property value will be higher because your neighbors are going to be these affluent 20 acres owners.
This time went by too quick. So in short, you support the watershed.
Very much, and I'm the only person in this race who does, and you need it. Charles County, you need that Watershed Conservation District.
Okay. Do you have any upcoming community events where people come out and talk to you?
Everybody, Wednesday, 6:30, I believe, at the Hilton. Come out and support light rail. Former Commissioner Hodge is going to be there, I expect. I haven't seen his name yet, but he's kind of behind all of these rallies. And everybody, come out and support light rail, because that will take 10 years, but it will help to fix the traffic. And we have a big traffic problem. My 10,000 jobs will help.
You have a little sign for that, right? Where's your sign?
Oh, yeah, we have a sign for that.
We have to
I hate to use this bad language, but I mean it. We got to fix this. So come out, light rail rally on Wednesday at the Hilton in Waldorf.
All right, guys. So we have to close out. It's Chris Dudley. ElectChrisDudley.us. Phone number 240-300-6449. Control room, forgive me. Take 30 seconds to tell them why you are the better candidate.
Okay, 30 seconds. We've seen Reuben Collins in office, and we've seen the problems that he causes. You're taking a chance on me, but you know what it's like with him. And so I'm better than him on that. Henry Thompson also wants to get to the point where we can cut taxes. He's a little cautious on infrastructure, and we actually have the bond rating to work on infrastructure, and that's important because our roads have been underwater this year, and that's going to happen again and again, and we need to do something about that. We can use our bond rating to do it at a much lower cost. I don't think Henry is really up on that, and so I will take us forward into what needs to happen to get Charles County ready for stronger rains and some of the climate change issues that we're facing.
All right, so there you have it, guys. Our green candidate running for president commissioner in Charles County, Mr. Chris Dudley. Thank you for coming on the show. I'm sorry that we ran out of time. Guys, he gave me a green...
It's pink inside.
Green and pink chalk things I could write on the sidewalk and make my signs.
Vote Green 2018.
Come back, see y'all next week on Hanging with Your Girl Tasha. We'll have a prominent author in the studio next week, guys. Talk to you soon. Thank you.
Goodbye. Thank you. Please vote.
Around without being shady, who knows her values, who's gone through trials. Her smiles are captured from mouth to mouth. It's not the size of her thighs she worries about, but the pride she thrives to keep that drive. That cinnamon twist, that cinnamon twist.